Katie.
I'm Mimi.
I'm Gloria. Today we will discuss the different aspects of animal feed operations.
There are two different types of operations, confined and free range.
Confined operations are cheaper and more prevalent, but there has been a lot of debate about animal rights issues. Many people consider free-range operations a more humane option.
In the last few decades, concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFO, have begun to dominate over free-range feeding operations.
Could you explain what concentrated animal feeding operations are?
An operation is defined as a CAFO when it houses at least 1,000 animals. These animals are often kept in cramped facilities, unable to see the outdoors, unlike free-range operations, which can be more humane and natural.
Owning a farm can be expensive, which is one of the reasons why CAFOs have become so popular. They cost less per animal, which maximizes the owner's profit. This also keeps the cost of meat down for people like us. Free-range operations require much more land than CAFOs do. Concentrated animal feeding operations are focused on being as efficient and profitable as possible, without much regard to the welfare of animals.
CAFOs may be more efficient, but there is a debate on whether they are humane. The treatment of the animals in these concentrated operations is extremely abusive. For example, poultry, so chickens, ducks, and turkeys, are raised in extremely small indoor cages and don't even have space to spread their wings. From birth until death, these birds remain inside their tiny cages and are horribly mistreated. Without any form of anesthesia, the birds have the tips of their beaks cut off so they won't peck each other out of stress. Because they have no space to move, they are forced to defecate on themselves and others surrounding them. Many of these birds have been bred to grow as big as possible in the shortest amount of time possible. The animals are fed whatever will make them gain weight cheaply and quickly. Their food contains additives such as hydrolyzed poultry feathers, interspecies waste, or cement dust. This can result in the growth rate of their organs to lag behind the growth rate of their bodies, which causes heart attacks and liver failure.
What about free-range operations? Are they more humane?
Yes, Mimi, free-range operations are generally a better option for animals. The ideal image that people commonly associate with a free-range animal feed operation is a place where animals can roam freely outside. However, although some free-range feed operations may fulfill these expectations, this is unfortunately not always the case. The official definition for free-range feed operations states that animals must be allowed access to the outside. This loose definition allows many feedlot owners to label their meat as free-range, when in reality the animals may only have a small concrete yard to walk in. The most reliable meat label as far as large-scale meat production goes is organic. Organic meats must, by law, be fed with organic feed and cannot be treated with antibiotics. This means that they require more space so they can't spread disease.
So are CAFOs really that much worse than free-range animal operations?
CAFOs actually have many negative effects, not only on the animals but also on surrounding communities.
If you think of the high number of animals in these CAFOs, you can imagine all of the waste. This is sprayed onto the surrounding fields, but there is often too much of it. The waste then washes away into runoff water.
This can lead to environmental problems because some of the antibiotics given to the animals remain in their waste and are spread into surrounding ecosystems by runoff water. Even if the animals are perfectly healthy, they are all given antibiotics. Overexposure of the runoff antibiotics can cause resistance of the antibiotics in humans, plants, and animals.
CAFOs pollute the air and water from the excess animal waste. This pollution can lead to an increase in common illnesses and therefore an increase in healthcare prices for the surrounding community.
Is there any type of regulation on the treatment of animals or their conditions in feed operations?
There are very few federal regulations regarding the requirements for CAFOs, and even fewer laws regarding the welfare of the animals. Many large CAFO corporations are able to avoid any regulations and continue to mistreat animals.
I can't imagine animal rights activists like CAFOs. What type of changes would they like to see done?
Yeah, there is a concern for the welfare of these animals. They are overcrowded and overfed. Their short lives are miserable. These animals are unable to live as they would in a natural environment. They cannot roam in open air or even step outside. Animal activists would like to see these types of conditions change. Animals are healthier when they are not crammed shoulder to shoulder. If animals had space to roam and graze, the need for constant antibiotics would be diminished. Better treatment of the animals would result in fewer accidental deaths and help save money and time in the long run.
Most people seem to believe that confined feeding operations are wrong, so why do they hold a majority amongst feed operations?
Many people are not aware of the mistreatment of these animals, and the ones who are aware see it as more of a necessary evil. We have a very business-driven society. As long as there's a demand for meat, people will look for ways to meet that demand as efficiently as possible with little regard to the welfare of the animals. Feed operations have become more worried about profit than animal rights.
That said, there has been an expanding market for free-range meat. As we learn more and more about CAFOs, people are beginning to look for free-range options. Americans are slowly but surely taking a stand against the mistreatment of animals and becoming more concerned about the negative effects CAFOs can have. A growing number of people are supporting free-range farms, but few farmers are willing to switch from CAFOs to free-range.
How do people know where their food is coming from?
Well, this can be an issue. In grocery stores, food is labeled with different words that can often be misleading. One common mistaken term is natural. The word natural does not refer to how an animal was raised. All it means is that nothing was added to the animal after its death. Products that come from CAFOs can still be labeled as natural. Another misleading label is no hormones. Legally, hormones cannot be added to chicken, so when a product says no hormones, this is just a clever marketing move. The owners are trying to get the customers to think their product is a safer, healthier option.
What would you suggest someone looks for while grocery shopping?
Like I said earlier, anything labeled as organic is generally a better choice because the federal government has official regulations regarding organic food. Another good option is labeled as pastured. This means that the animals had access to an outside pen and could forage for plants as well as being fed grain. However, this term has no legal weight, so it is important to check the background of where your meat comes from.
The easiest way to avoid consuming mistreated meat is to simply be vegetarian. There are many debates that question the morality of killing animals for food. Is the abuse endured by animals worth eating meat? This is the question at the center of the debate over feed.